Filtered on multiple social platforms and digital streaming services. Roland, how are you?
Hey, Cliff, what's going on?
Good. Tell us what you think about yesterday.
Well, here's the deal. A lot of people are saddened because of Andrew Gillum in Florida, but first of all, they need to calm down. Personally, I think Andrew Gillum conceded way too early. Our understanding is that there are some 40,000 votes that are outstanding in Broward County. They are about 9,000 votes away that could trigger an automatic recount, which means that provisional ballots will also then begin to be assessed. I literally was just reading as well, Cliff, where there are tens of thousands of rejected absentee ballots that have to be dealt with as well. And so we got some fundamental issues here. I just thought he conceded way too early. But people obviously, they want to be jealous to win in Maryland. Stacey Abrams is still fighting in Georgia. But there was a lot of good news for black folks yesterday, Cliff. I don't understand why people don't quite understand what's going on. Obviously, those races got most of the attention. Democrats, of course, control the United States House. Republicans still control the United States Senate. And so you may have an African-American, and Nancy Pelosi does not have the votes to become the next speaker. You may have a black speaker of the House. And even if she does, you might have an African-American who's the majority leader. We've never had an African-American in the number 2 position in the House. But speaking of that, you had a brother who won in Colorado. You had Johanna Hayes in Connecticut. Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts. Lucy McBath, the mother of Jordan Davis, she toppled Karen Handel. She's now up 3,000 votes in Georgia. And so she's leading. You also have, and why is it escaping me right now? You also have Ilhan Omar, the first Somali American, one of 2 Muslim women elected this year in Congress. Lauren Underwood in Illinois. You also have Colin Allred in Dallas. And so the Congressional Black Caucus, for the first time in American history, they're going to have more than 50 members in the United States House. You also have African Americans, Cliff, who became attorney generals yesterday. Kwame Raoul in Illinois. Keith Ellison in Minnesota. Aaron Ford in Nevada. Letitia James in New York. Those are statewide positions. Look, we rarely have had African Americans elected nationally or statewide. To have that many elected yesterday, because Pritzker won, a black woman as lieutenant governor in Illinois, because the Democrat won in Wisconsin. A black man is now lieutenant governor in Wisconsin. Even on the Republican side, of course, Hogan won in Michigan. His lieutenant governor is an African American. You already have lieutenant governors who are African American in Virginia, New Jersey, in Kentucky as well. And then you go even lower. A black man was elected DA in Fort Bend County. The brother was elected DA in the St. Louis area. Marilyn Mosley was reelected DA in Baltimore County. In Harris County, where Houston is, 19 black women who were running for judge all won.
Wow. That is great. Yeah.
So I need people just to understand that. Look, that in order to regain power, look, you got to run, and sometimes you lose. And I said last night on Roland Martin Unfiltered, 1968, Maynard Jackson lost when he ran for the U.S. Senate. But what came out of that was he studied the numbers and saw there was path to victory to him becoming the mayor of Atlanta. And so, look, Obama got crushed by Bobby Rush. That did not prevent him from running for U.S. Senate and then later the president. So I think people need to step back and realize there was some good news, there was some bad news, but overall, there was more good news yesterday for black folks than bad news. Look, Cliff, in Florida, Prop 4 passed. 1.4 million people who could not vote now can vote. But let's go beyond voting. Anthony Meade, the brother, Cliff, it took that brother 10 years to get this initiative on the ballot. 10 years.
Which one is that, Roland?
Proposition 4 in Florida.
Oh, Proposition 4, yeah.
Voting rights.
Yeah.
But here's the bigger thing that people don't realize. Because not only could they not vote, you could not get a professional license in Florida as a result. Because of last night, Desmond Meade, who got out of prison, got his law degree, he was not allowed to practice. He now can actually get his law license to practice. That opened the door. Redistricting, gerrymandering in Michigan, the initiative passed. Now automatic voting is now the law in Michigan. Marijuana legalization passed in Michigan. We did have, of course, the downside in North Carolina. Carolina was that constitutional amendment that requires a photo ID that passed as well. But what failed was the Republicans' constitutional amendment undercutting the power of the governor. And not only that, in North Carolina, the Republicans no longer have the supermajority. That means now that Governor Roy Cooper can now veto because they no longer have a veto-proof majority. And so I just need people to understand that there was a lot of good that happened yesterday. People can't get down, can't get dissuaded.
Well, there certainly was a lot of good, and we knew that, but not as much as you just mentioned, Roland. That's great. Now, let me ask you, and you already mentioned it, but I certainly knew that you would have some idea. What's happening with Pelosi? She was having a press conference today, but they said presumed, that's what the people that introduced her, presumed speaker. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you see on that?
So the deal is, again, look, first of all, she is going to be a formidable opponent. Nancy Pelosi is one of the greatest tacticians that has operated in Congress. I mean, she knows how to wield power. Here's the thing people don't understand. Nancy Pelosi raised $83 million. That money was used to help re-elect and elect members of the House.
Yeah.
The question, though, is will she be able to have enough votes among her Democratic caucus to be elected Speaker? If I was a betting man, I would say she has those votes. But to understand, things may change. So new members who are coming in may not be vote for her. Others may be tired of that. But here's the other issue. And look, I ain't got nothing against people who are old, but here's the deal. Nancy Pelosi is 77 or 78 years old. Steny Hoyer, the number 2, he's 79. Jim Clyburn is 78. And so there's a lot of concern that among younger Democrats, they want younger leaders on the Democratic side. But so that's what they presume, because a vote is going to take place next month. Here's the other deal. Now that Democrats are controlling the House, 5 African Americans are going to be chairing committees. That's also going to open up hundreds of committee jobs on Capitol Hill. It's going to put pressure on Democrats to hire black folks, because Democrats are woeful when it comes to filling those critical positions with African Americans. And so all of that is at stake right now. And so she has to run for Speaker of the House. Again, she's the odds-on favorite, but there could be an uprising, and if she doesn't get the vote on that first ballot, then that's going to open the door for potential African-American to be Speaker of the House.
Wouldn't that be something, Roland? You're great, sir. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it, Cliff.
We'll be talking, okay? Keep up the good work.
Thanks so much.
You're more than welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Roland Martin Unfiltered, and here is a daily digital show. Lots of good information. Yeah, blacks did extremely well. It's on our live line, none other than the Honorable J.B. Pritzker. How are you?
I'm doing great, Cliff. How are you doing?
Hey, doing real well. And your speech last night, oh my goodness, it was just great. It was. You are a true statesman. That speech could not have been any better. You know.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I don't know if you heard Juliana Stratton's speech, but
I did.
She did.
I was going to mention.
Did a great job.
Yeah, she did. I was going to mention that next. The first African American lieutenant governor, first woman, and the first black woman to be lieutenant governor elect of the state.
Yeah, indeed, and in fact, she's the first African American lieutenant governor ever in the state's history, and I'm so proud of her and of that, and she's going to do a great job. She's got the experience necessary for the job, and she's going to be a real partner in state government as we try to tackle the real challenges that people are facing across the state.
And there are so many of them, and you mentioned many of them during the campaign, and it's just, not only do you have the good ideas, which is great, but your personality even helps. I mean, because, for instance, you have met with me in a restaurant, and everybody comes over and you talk to everybody. You're just that kind of person, and it's great to see that.
Well, you're kind, and people are very decent around the state. People have been very nice to me as I've run for office here, and frankly, I think it's time that we got back to a state where our leaders actually talk to people, listen, maybe more importantly, listen to them, and then address the real challenges people are going through. We got to get away from all the ideology and the partisan rancor and throwing mud, and instead get back to just addressing the real problems people are going through. I want to make sure we lift up people's standards of living across the state, provide jobs, make sure we're raising wages, lower the cost of health care, make sure everybody's got it. And then, when people want to go to college, they shouldn't get strapped with debt for the rest of their lives. So we've got real work to do, and, Juliana and I intend to put shoulder to the wheel to get the job done.
I know you will. Probably too early to suggest, JB, about a transition. You haven't talked about that yet, have you?
Well, we put out an announcement today about our transition leadership. We have Coach, Juliana's going to chair the transition.
Great.
And then we brought on co-chairs, Barbara Bowman, who's one of the leading advocates of early childhood education in the country. We brought on Governor Jim Edgar, a Republican, but somebody who brings real experience.
Great.
Transition, yeah. Sure. And in addition, Marty Nesbitt, a businessman and a close ally and friend of President Obama. Saul Flores, who's a community activist and a leader of a nonprofit agency in the Chicago area, and Mike Kerrigan, who's the head of the statewide AFL-CIO. And they're just our co-chairs. We're going to have a lot of other people and announcements. Jesse Reyes is Jesse Ruiz, I apologize, is the counsel to our transition, and others have been announced. So we're going to have announcements every day, make sure that we're running a transparent process as well as one that's going to address all the issues that we need to get prepared for as we transition the government.
Well, that's going to be great, and there are so many things, and you've named some great people, and you yourself with all the business that you know about, and of course Juliana's going to be great. You said she's hating that. So we can look forward to some big changes and no more shutdown to the government. Oh, man. When you think about all of the problems that we've had here, this is such a relief. But did you think that it would be decided as early as it was?
I was hopeful that we would have a resounding victory, and fortunately, that's in fact what happened. And Cliff, we didn't just win by almost 15 points here, but we also won counties that Democratic candidates haven't won for a long time. For example, we won DuPage County. Yes, first time a Democrat for governor has won DuPage County since 1932. We won Champaign County. It's the first time since 1936.
Oh, wow.
We won Kane County, and that's the first time since 1912. And we really won. We won every collar county except for McHenry County, where we got over 40%, which is a pretty good number in McHenry County. And then we won downstate too. We won 15 counties across the state, including ones in deep southern Illinois. So we feel really great about how we did, and I think we had a real purpose in focusing on people all across the state, listening to their challenges. We won Peoria County. It hasn't been won by a Democrat since 1968. So, yeah, I think there's a real message and a mandate in that it's time to put Springfield back on the side of working families and to make sure that we're addressing the challenges that people have had, especially communities that have been forgotten and left out for too many years.
Well, obviously, I know what your platform is, and it's just great that you're going to be able to put it into play because, both houses are Democrats in the General Assembly. So, we won't have these things that we've had before and previously. And this is just going to be a great thing. It's going to be a great time in Illinois for a lot of people.
Well, we get, I don't want anybody to overlook the challenges we've got ahead, but I also want people to be hopeful because we do have some great opportunities to help people. And, if we've got a government with Juliana and me at the lead that's really focusing on working families and on people who really need help, I think we can deliver for them while we're addressing the real challenges that we've got, fiscal and otherwise.
Well, I think so, too, without a doubt. And they were talking about how many people in the Congress, the U.S. Congress, who have been elected that are veterans, unbelievable numbers. And, of course, you have been on my veteran show before. So we know that you have a concern about veterans also. It's just a great thing. And I just wanted to congratulate you and thank you so much. And tell Juliana we are so pleased that the team is together and we're all going to benefit and we're going to be helpful in any way we can. So I know. Yeah, go right ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you to you for the opportunity to be on your show over the course of the last year and a half, and so many people, have been very kind to Juliana and me across the state, and I have a debt of gratitude in many ways to people for just their decency, common decency across the state, and I'm looking forward to making real change in the state.
I know you will, and thank you so much for taking the time with us, Governor-elect J.B. Pritzker. You're great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Governor Kelly.
All right, sir. A pleasure.
We're going to be talking to on Justice Watch. We're going to be talking about how voters ousted longtime judges and how other judges actually got in. We're also going to be talking about AG, the Attorney General Jeff Sessions, his ouster or his resignation with the Washington Post. And we're going to be talking about Hood Smart. It's an urban stimulus project, and we're going to have its founder. And we're going to have memorial reflections today with Augustus Cage, I believe. But first, let's move on because Energize, this is what it was. This was written by on Justice Watch. Energize, Cook County voters oust longtime judge, and catalysts say there are more to come. Joining us is the author who penned this article on Justice Watch, or on their website, is Olivia Stovacek. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hello, Olivia. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. And did I pronounce that right, Stovacek?
Stovacek is right, yeah. And actually, Rick Tulsky actually wrote this particular article, but we've all been involved in covering the election.
So tell our listeners how unprecedented it was, at least for the last, 30 years or so, that a sitting judge, that the Cook County Democratic Party did not support Matthew Coughlin. And there were other names that came up after we talked to Nicole Gonzalez Van Cleves, who was the author of Crook County. She named a few judges. How is this unprecedented, and why weren't there more?
Well, in past years, the local Democratic Party has automatically supported every judge, and every judge since, for the last 28 years, has been retained without a problem.
Okay.
They usually, it's not something that judges typically worry about at this point because it's been so long.
Right.
So this really is expected to, kind of shake up the perception of these races in the future and how competitive they might be.
And so Matthew Coughlin became the first Cook County judge to lose a retention election in 28 years in a race marked by strikingly high numbers of electors who cast the votes in the race. Did people hear this message? Obviously they did. Surprisingly, did people really pay attention to the judges to retain in this last election?
It seems that they definitely paid more attention than in years past. It's a big deal that Judge Coughlin did not get retained, but as you mentioned, usually way more people vote for, the top of the ballot, whether that's the governor or the president, than they do for the judges. They go to vote, and then they look at the judges and they say, I don't know anything about them, and, maybe about 30% of people in that range go to vote and just skip the judges. And this year, about 10% more people than that, kept going and stayed with the judges than they had before. And So not only did more people vote on the judicial retention elections, but even some of the judges who were supported by the Democratic Party had their, they were a little bit closer to losing than judges typically are. Another judge, Morris Lottery Boyle,